Now, the problem with fossils is that it's based on an assumption that appears to be incorrect. It's based on an assumption that things are always going on as they've always gone on, and geological process happen at a constant and slow pace. Now, that directly contradicts a verse that comes from 2,000 years ago. So it says, "Above all, you must understand that in the last days scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires, that will say, whereas this coming is promised ever since our ancestors died, everything goes on as it has since the beginning of creation." It's called uniformitarianism. But they deliberately forget that long ago, by God's word, the heavens came into being, and the earth was formed out of water, and by these waters, the world at that time was deluged and destroyed. And so there is a historical witness that incorrect idea will come across, and so you have to be pretty game to sort of not be a little bit alarmed by that. So there is a huge geological process that is a global flood. And the geologists have no record of the past, and they can't confirm whether things happened quickly or slowly. And so there's quite a lot of geological processes. Now, I know you're going to say, well, I guess the biggest ones are there's errors in the Bible. I don't think there are errors in the Bible. I've translated the Greek. I've looked at small typos, as you would say, and then they're not big errors at all. I don't see anything. The Old Testament is a very boring book. It's a historical book with numbers and names, etc. And it reads as if to be read literally. And so there's quite a few geological events that could be occurring here. There's a vault between the waters to separate the water from the water. So the creation event itself is a huge geological, quite a quick process over the process of a couple of days. And then you have the water, so that could be sedimentary and faults, etc. You have Noah's flood, so if we just turn to wherever that is, where is it? It says it somewhere here. In 40 days, the flood, all the high mountains were covered on the entire earth. Everything perished. On dry land that had breath, everything on dry land that had breath died. Everything facing the earth was wiped out. People, animals, creatures moved along the ground. Only Noah was with. Everything was wiped out from the earth. So that is not just a sedimentary, but also plate movement because of the hills and stuff. So there's not enough water to cover everything. And then there's a third one, Peleg. So in the days Peleg, because in his time the earth was divided, so the earth broke up. So there's at least three catastrophic events, and so that is what you would expect to see in the evidence then. And so that is exactly what you do see in the evidence. So if you have a look here, what you can see is billions of dead things that were buried alive, buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth, so sedimentary rock. And so this guy, Professor Sean Wisely, he argues for hundreds and thousands of years, but then he goes out into the field and you see billions of dead things all combined together, these shells that didn't close, that were buried alive, and hundreds of them buried in sedimentary rock, which matches the biblical account and not a slow account of an inland sea. Here you've got a very clear picture of sandstone above, sandstone below, and coal. So that would have been plant material that had been died and buried between rock layers. And so I don't know which of the three catastrophic events that the Bible explains, but there are these events, and so that would explain a quick process because layers form best and easiest when they're mixed with water. We recently did an experiment where we shook up sediment and they formed in layers almost instantaneously, and so that is the easiest way to get layers. And then all of a sudden rock movements as well. It makes more sense to be quick. Okay, so the field evidence also shows that. So there is a historical account, human account, eyewitness account. The second big evidence is these field studies where you just go out and you can see that it's billions of dead things buried in rock layers all over the earth. The third one is actual rock samples that I have myself. So this was given to me by a geologist, and you can see the fine detail of the leaves. Now, that's now some sort of sedimentary rock that's turned to shale, but you can see the fine leaves in there. And if this was a slow process, then the leaves just turn to soil. This one here is actually, I visited this myself. There's a whole mountain full of logs that are petrified, and so they're buried very quickly because there's no rotting involved at all. And so a natural process would be for things to rot and disappear. And here I've got a hand-me-down marine biologist gave me this one, and this one is a full shell again, just like the ones, the oysters. I don't think that one's an oyster, but you can see all these things are buried alive. There's huge numbers of them. It's a catastrophic flood, a clear catastrophic flood, and not a slow process. You're still going to have to say exactly what your textbook says, by the way, and the pictures that it gives. Pictures are a bit of a red flag that it's not true. So you're going to have to say that the older, less evolved species are at the bottom layers, and the newer, more evolved species at the top. As you'll see, there'll be pictures and not evidence, but I think the evidence clearly says that is not correct. And so in the lab, finally, sorry to take that long, this is what you're going to do. You're going to grab some mineral gypsum. So this is gypsum, but it's been heated a little bit, so it's not calcium dihydrate. It's just a half hydrate. It's plaster of Paris, and you're going to add a little bit of sand to that. The reason for that is we're creating sedimentary rock, and I want all the processes there. So you're adding a little bit of mineral there for the cementation. Put it in a syringe just for the sake of compaction. So you're going to push it down. You're going to put a leaf in there. Of course, you're not going to leave it millions of years because it'll decay and be nothing. You're going to bury it alive and quickly. And within half an hour, I did this one. It's a little bit too quick. I formed a fossil. And so it's nice and hard. Had to bang it quite a bit to get it out. You can see there's markings on there in the rock in the shape of the leaf. It's a very simple leaf, so there's only really one clear line you can see there. And I'll just get the hammer out as well, just so you can see it is a nice hard rock. So you can see how fossils form very, very quickly. Okay. So go ahead and do that. I would probably advise, actually, I only put it in for cementation and compaction. Put it in the and pushing out the water out of the grains. I put in the syringe for that. You're probably better off just doing it in a cup because it's very hard to get it out of the syringe.